And we're live. Hello. Welcome to
Hello.
Mystic AF. Yay. I have my friend Totem Rachel White with me today, and we are going to talk about a lot of stuff, but we're going to kick it off with the full moon
It's
because
the full wolf moon.
it's the full.
And it's in Cancer. I'm a Cancer. I'll apologize now on behalf of Cancers. We're a
my
lot.
my moon is in Cancer, so I got
That's
you.
that's intense because the Cancer is ruled by the moon. So you're doubling up to the exponent of crazy there a little bit in a good way.
In
Yeah.
a crazy AF way.
Yeah, and it's funny, people always want to marginalize cancers as being really like very yin and very sensitive and kind of touchy and all those stereotypes. And I've never met a cancer woman that was sort of soft that way.
No,
And
no, you're like hard on the outside and all
on
goopy
the
on the
outside.
inside.
And
Yeah.
I asked one of them, I said, well, what would our tagline be? She was really funny. She owned this store in Andersonville in Chicago. And she goes, fuck yes, we're crying. I was like, yeah, that's kind of it, I think. It was a very punk response to that. So
Yes.
this full moon, the full wolf moon, wolf medicine is, I just sent out an email about it. It's very good for us in terms of our connections with others. Wolves in nature get along. They're monogamous. They raise children as a collective. They hunt together. They're kind. They demonstrate empathy. So they're a rare non-human species that demonstrates compassion. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole mood right now.
Yeah, I can feel it. It's kind of staticky. It's like
Yeah, it
there's a
is.
like
Listen,
stickiness to
all the
the.
men in this house, canine, actually, I have a wolf
Many are
hybrid
there.
German Shepherd, and then my husband are out cold on the couch and the dog bed, respectively,
That's
out
what's
there.
happening in my living room as
It
well.
hit
Husband
them.
elect, two dogs, boom,
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
out. Let them
Wow,
have
that's
it.
so fast. Because Darren, I was like, "How you doing, babe?" And he's watching the football game, and he's like, "I'm just chilling, man. Like, leave me alone." I'm like, "Okay," but he was
Right.
up like I don't know, 10 minutes ago, and then out cold.
Yeah, and being a classic Cancer, I'm like, do you need snacks? Like, are you okay? Are you sick? Like, what is it? And he's like, I'm just literally resting. Like, leave it alone.
Why are you resting? What is
Why are
up
you
with
making
that?
it weird? So it's funny. Right before we started, we talked about something which ties in with the full moon, which is, sorry, I hope I'm not offending anyone who's really excited about the metaverse, but I think it
Oh yeah,
sucks. And I think it sucks because I think the world we live in is very meta. And as a shaman, a spiritual seeker, there are experiences every day that are meta, that are amazing, that are multidimensional. But you actually have to get up out of your house sometimes or go inward and certainly get away from screens to enjoy them. So
yeah.
that paradox is not lost on me.
Yeah, yeah, I love that you said that because the meta. I feel like I already live in such a meta universe. I'm like, I don't really want to go
Yeah.
into another layer of that. And I have a favorite book called Snow Crash, and it was written in the 90s. And he talks about avatars in the metaverse and how corporations own everything. I mean, it's
Hmm.
very prolific.
Margaret
And
Atwood, that was a big theme in her writing. She
yeah,
wrote Handmaid's Tale and Oryx and Crake, and her big thing was very soon it's going to be multinational corporations and not your government. We're in it.
yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
it happens quickly. Yeah, and it's funny, the metaverse, I was listening to someone explain it to someone, two famous smart people, and all I could think was it's kind of the dry hump of technology. Sort of like, have you ever met, like, maybe in your career with a marketer who was like, we should do a postcard campaign? You're like, no, we
Mm,
shouldn't. Like, no one should ever do that. I was interviewed for a CMO job at a company that did direct mailing, like snail mail mailing. And I was like, why are you doing this? Like, you're the dodo bird. Let it go, bro. But yeah,
yeah,
like, it just strikes me as it's everything about the real world except a million degrees less interesting.
what's intimate?
Yeah, and it's as a spiritual person, there's a feeling that comes with things that's kind of ephemeral, and it's hard to articulate. And that's the thing that's getting sort of surgically removed from everything in our lives. And you're in California. I just moved to Texas from Chicago, and I've been this week in particular getting a lot of calls from friends and clients in Chicago say like just everything about it is so weird now because of the sustained lockdowns that no one feels like they can just kind of stumble upon serendipity, like that spontaneity of like leaving your front door to just kind of do something, which was one of the joys of living in a big city filled with interesting people and that magic. That's kind of been taken out for good or for bad. I'm not suggesting it was, one way or the other. It just is what it is now. And then adding the metaverse to it, it's like the sterilization of the human experience.
Yeah.
I don't like
There's
it.
so many. There's like I was a Sequest fan. If anyone knows Sequest out there, please just like drop in a me. But it was a show in the 90s, and it was about this submarine.
Oh my God, I saw this. Was that hot kid who was in the Neverending Story?
Yeah, Jonathan Brandis,
Yes.
who was like my bro. I freaking loved him. And when he passed away, he was 27, I got like condolence calls. I loved him so much. Like I loved him so much. But anyways, it was an episode where they accidentally go to the future in their submarine, and there's only 2 people left on the planet, and they're kids, and they're in these robots fighting, and they just lived in the metaverse, and they didn't know anything outside of the metaverse. And like Sequest, the team had to be there. Don DeLuis's son Michael, who I actually know personally, was in the show too. Yeah. And they're like these 2 kids were like the Adam and Eve, because everyone else had been extinct basically. And I'm like, let's not go there, guys. It's a great idea on the story, but like, okay, so let's get out of the metaverse, even though you guys are watching this. And what is something that someone can do tonight in the full moon that might like propel them forward in the month ahead? Because full moons have a lot of juicy, yummy energy.
The year ahead, we're still in January. I'm not a big fan of resolutions, only because I think people frame them in withholding from themselves. I'm a big fan of like picking something to crowd out something that you don't like instead. Like, what are you inviting in? What are you going to engage in that's going to make that negative stuff impossible, right? Mm-hmm. But today, before this, because I want to let people know about it, because I'm really grateful for this, and I'm grateful for any conversation that isn't framed around like, help me sell something and I help you sell something. I believe that, we offer things people should buy, but I also like, it just gets monotonous and bludgeoning. And it's like, when I'm on Instagram, I don't always like being sold to. I like learning. I like hearing things that are spontaneous. It feels dangerous, the way that
human condition.
Totally. Yeah. So I sent an email out, and what it was about was, it's a full moon. You could do a full moon ritual. It's a great day to set intentions about things you want to bring in, you want to receive, and you want to manifest. But for me, I was like, reframing the idea of what food is for us, because we think of food, I just took a sip of very nice French wine, by the way. That's what I do at night. In the words of Rust Cole, you don't get to interrupt that. Sure, that character was an alcoholic, possibly schizophrenic, but we'll forget that. But we take in so much food with our eyes, our ears, different chakras in us. And I'm doing this coaching program right now where we really get into that. Like, what's coming in, how do you process that spiritual and mundane stimuli? And I listen to so much content because I'm active. I walk my dog, I'm gardening. I like listening to audiobooks, and I've just made a choice that it can't be hollow anymore. I noticed that it would drag me down. It would make me feel weird. I already don't watch the news or anything like that, but I had to give up guilty pleasures, like no more Real Housewives. Because it's not, it used to have a genuine voyeurism to it where you'd see real things like in the wild, like human beings in the wild. And I love people watching. And now it's all so rote, and everybody has publicists and everything's packaged and handled. And I was like, it leaves you feeling hollow, like junk food. And I'm not going to do it anymore. And so I would just tell everybody, sit down and reflect a little bit on the traits you want to nourish and germinate in yourself, and think about what you need to give it, right? Like, if I want to be super connected to reality and do real things in the real world, I need to learn those things. I need to, if I'm listening to content, take that in, and maybe a little less true crime, a little less murder cult stuff, right? And just retool that.
Yeah, you could dabble, but definitely, I love the crowding out, because I've been on a mission to crowd out sugar, because I love sugar. Oh my God, I love sugar. And the crowding out, because I love vegetables too, and I love like really healthy food.
And they have good sugars in them.
Yeah.
That are better for you, that aren't processed.
That aren't like,
so you're just eating more vegetables?
basically crowding it out to the point where I mean, I was like limiting myself on bananas. I was like, well, I can only have one banana a day. At some point somewhere it got on my mind I could have one banana a day. So I go eat like a rack of cookies and I'm like, why am I just not eating 2 bananas a day? Like, right. So I love this idea of like what we're eating, because there's all of these energetic leaks that we have.
Yes.
And I think that instead of maybe watching all of the football game tonight, if people are, or like, whatever you're going to do after you watch what you're watching today, go outside, crowd it out a little bit and just be outside.
And if you're a person who, I'm kind of a second chakra dominant person, that's the sacral chakra. So I like doing things. Mm-hmm. So I'm not one of those people who can sit and do nothing very well. That becomes problematic. So I have to give myself happy things to do that are in one sense productive, but also enjoyable, which is why I'm making flower essences again this year, because it forces me to go outside and to garden and to make something with my hands. But because, I'm a second chakra sort of maniac, I go, well, this is productive. This is for my business. And I sell these and I give them to people. So it has a purpose. So it's also like a self-awareness thing, getting to know yourself. And you can trick yourself into doing the right things for you in a lot of ways.
I was tricking myself.
Fighting your own nature, it's not going to work very well. Like, if you had to guess, what's sort of your thing? Are you heart chakra, you throat, you navel maybe? Do you have any idea of that?
I don't. I love this idea of it. I feel like I'm a doer. I'm really a doer.
You're probably sacral, like
probably
me.
Am. Yeah.
Yeah, like you like creating things. We like things instead of relationships. We like people, but we like making stuff a lot. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk, for instance, isn't a therapist. He's making things.
Right. Yeah.
Second chakra people, we're interesting. We really like to go and do, but we'll hit the wall way past where we should. And then we're just done. Like there's no like warning, you're exhausted, stop, slow down. The other thing is you may feel resentment of others around you that don't have that pathology that, like my husband's a very heart chakra person. He can just exist and be happy. And it's like mind blowing to me. But he doesn't need to have my illness. Like, it's good. We balance each other out. And so just acknowledging that. Yeah, but doers, to the crowding out's the way to go if you're setting resolutions or intentions on the new moon. So yeah, I'm trying to listen to audiobooks that are about things I'm curious about that teach me how to be a better version of myself. Not self-helpy, because that shit's crazy. That hopium nonsense, the snake oil salesman. But there's a book called
Positivity.
I hate it. Yeah, there's a book I'm listening to called The Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century, and it's written by evolutionary biologists, and it's about our old hardware, our old software in this world with exponential change and technology. And what about us reacts to social media, for instance, the addiction to dopamine and things like that, and where that comes from and how that used to keep us alive. It's an evolutionarily beneficial trait, but now we have to pivot. So I like that. And I would also tell everyone, if you want like full moons, new moons, writing out your intentions. When you write, it forces you to think differently and making it experiential. Like a big thing I've worked on for the last year and a half is and I've gotten it. I want to cultivate more time, just quiet time, and be in charge of my time. And so when I try and write out a manifestation, I think of what does that feel like? Not just I have more time. But what does it feel like? Do I sit in the backyard and sip a glass of wine and I don't worry about a checklist? Or, what is it really? What's the experience of it? A lot of people, clients of mine, want relationships. And it's like, yeah, but they'll say like, I want a guy who has a job and wants to have kids. And I'm like, that's nonsense talk. Like day to day, like your daily life, what do you want to live with? What does that feel like? What does it smell like? Yeah.
Does it taste like?
Paint that picture for yourself, because that's really how the manifestation work happens.
For sure. Yeah. And allowing yourself to slow down long enough to be able to actually envision quest into the future.
Well, when you write it down, I always tell my clients, read it on the next full moon. Like put an envelope and open it up and read it 30 days later. And you'll be amazed at how much you manifested. We're so dismissive of it because we're so on to the next thing that it's a moment of like, holy shit, I got that done. I did that.
Mail it to yourself. I just had a vision of like mailing it.
Yeah, we're so mean to ourselves. I don't know if you've noticed that. We're very like, and
Oh
what?
yeah,
What next? What else have you done? Like, I've never had a worse manager than me.
oh
Like, I'm
yeah,
terrible to work for.
horrible to each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean to ourselves, not very good best friends.
So what do you do on full moons? You know,
I
like,
I have a good friend who usually does a ceremony on
okay.
full moons, and I'm gonna go to it at 7 p.m. So, um, really, sometimes I'll put out my crystals,
Hmm.
and I'll have Darren do it with me, my husband elect, and he'll be like, "Are we gonna do hooga booga stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and he'll go hooga booga, and then I'll walk away.
I love it so much.
So simple, so
Yeah.
easy. But we usually put we live by the coast, so tonight's a little cloudy, but we'll put them out there, and I'll do some sort of just intention setting
Yeah.
verbally, and then sometimes I burn things. Like I've got my cauldron,
Yes.
and if there's something I want to let go of, or if he wants to let go of, we'll write it down and we'll actually burn it.
Yeah.
So
I
and then
like
I
doing
make
that
I
on
make
new
moon
moons.
water. I
Oh
make
yeah,
moon
moon
water.
water.
Yeah. And then I'll put it in a little jar, and then we'll do shots of moon water.
That stuff, I was so surprised when I made flower essences because I didn't know I was making them in like an old world way.
Hmm.
I didn't realize most people didn't put plant matter in their flower essence, and I do. And that shit's powerful. So stuff like moon water and all of that. And it's funny, like I kind of know these things, but I'm skeptical enough that it took me taking my own essence and being like, oh my God, I think I accidentally did witchcraft. Like this is a real thing. And then you remember making it and you're like, of course, of course. So
Yes.
a lot of the things we're going to be planting, and we just today started germinating seeds. Different seeds need different things. It's a really aggressive project. Sacral chakra people, we have a hard time with proportion too. Where the whole backyard's going to be a project now. Like it's become big,
I don't
but
think I'm sacral. I'm
okay, good.
maybe I'm more heart. But
Maybe.
I just remember with the planting of the seeds, I love that because I made Darren marry me under the moonlight in
There
September.
you
I was like,
go.
get back here. Like we're doing a
Yeah.
ceremony. And we planted sunflower seeds, and they're
Yeah.
just flowering, and like they're growing, and like they're growing in our relationship,
Yeah.
which is really awesome. I mean, we're officially getting married in April, but it was
Well,
perfect.
and some flowers in witchcraft or in just making flower essences, some of them are night blooming and some of them you're supposed to harvest at night on a full moon or a new moon. So I'm going to be doing that with things like the jasmine, because I've been reading all these books on hedge witchery, you know,
Okay.
weirdo witches that don't belong in groups, my kind of people.
Yeah.
And just taking care to harvest them when the celestial conditions are optimal. And it seems really ooga booga, right, to somebody, except that when you then
There's science to
ingest
it.
them, you're like, no, there's something to this. Like, this is not just placebo effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm really excited living in Texas now. I can grow a lot of like desert flowers, which are night blooming and powerful. And we're going to plant one of the seeds we scarified today with like a little razor blade, right? And you get it going is for Joshua trees. So we're going to see if they take here. And that's powerful medicine, but night blooming. And the
Yeah.
flowers only last one night. So it's also this act of like, you have to pay attention, which is not my strong suit.
Groundedness, really
Yeah.
powerful groundedness. I love
I'll
that.
probably be an asshole, put like Nest cameras out there or something and set an alarm.
Why not? We are living
I
in the
know.
21st century.
It's the same person who bitched at all of you about the metaverse just now. I want you to know I'm a hypocrite. There it is.
I'm making my own metaverse. Well,
Yeah.
gang, I love to hear from you guys. Any of you watching, let us know what your moon, new or full,
Yeah,
any of
please.
like those rituals that you have. And Rachel, you have an amazing list. Do you have a link or anything you can share here so that people can follow
Oh, yeah,
you?
probably. Let's
Yeah.
see. I just put a bunch of seed stuff up today
Cool.
on Instagram. My poor husband. I know it's
And
like a bunch
I
of videos.
love that you're doing this because one of my stands is that we really, no matter where you live, because we've got the technology, we should all be growing our own food. We really should.
Yeah.
Like it's time. It's time to remember who we are and to have our own gardens inside of our houses. Even in apartment complexes, they have like you can have your own. Like there's really beautiful farming under LED lights. Like there's all kinds of cool stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I started this project on my balcony in Chicago. I mean, that's where these plants were growing. And on the roof deck, I had a meditation and group energy workspace in Oak Park, which is very close to Chicago. And I borrowed someone else's roof deck. I went on like a fire escape. It was kind of dangerous, and would go out there and oh, thank you. Yeah. And farm these flowers. So the limitations are really mental with this. And we are going to be growing food to all heirloom seeds. So heads up, guys, you want to plant heirloom seeds that are non-GMO and all that stuff.
Yes.
They need a little extra care because nature is so smart. That's the other thing about moon cycles of doing this today. So some of them we have in the fridge, it's called cold stratifying, because in nature, the seed knows it has to go through cold and then warm,
right,
to sprout, so that they don't die out in nature for no reason. There's all this built-in genetic intelligence to things that we don't think of as sentient.
Wow.
It's a good reminder.
I think I'm more heart chakra.
Yeah, probably. So by the way, do you feel like a emotional pincushion sometimes? Like if someone's having a bad day or they're in a bad mood, you really take that on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you probably like to make it stop. I've always said to people that go, I'm a people pleaser and I'm working on it. I said, did it ever occur to you that you're getting psychic data and you just want the lambs to stop screaming? Like, you're pleasing them, but you're pleasing them so their energy body shuts up and you can have a moment of peace, really. Yeah.
It's totally selfish.
There's a good book to check out, everybody. It's called Eye of the Lotus, The Psychology of the Chakras. And everybody uses all their chakras, but it was a little mind-blowing to me to read. And we're using it in the coaching program I'm doing. And what I think it gives people is just a sense of relief that they don't need to work on themselves and be neurotic, because it's some of your negative traits are just side effects of your superpowers. And so understanding that, it just releases you a little bit.
Yeah. I love that.
Don't you think like this whole area, like the human potential movement and all this stuff, don't you think it's a little neurotic? Like one of the things I really like about you and your energy is you seem to really be in radical self-acceptance and just take people as they come. And why isn't that more prevalent?
I think that people are all awakening to their greatness. Yeah. And it's also terrifying as fuck to do that. And it took me a long time to do it. And I just
what was the catalyst for you, the back door?
Well, I worked in corporate forever, so that's an easy way to blend in and but like I always stuck out as like a sore thumb, and I was always like overly creative. And I finished my degree in 2018. Women started dying, my mom, my grandmother, and it was like, okay,
oh dear,
I'm the matriarch. And it's not, I don't always believe in myself, right? Like people are like, you're so great, you're amazing, you're a superstar. And I'm like, my results don't really show that all the time. And at the same time, it's like, but I also can see myself in my greatness and who I am, right? And then I have such a gift for being able to see other people in their greatness, that it's a reflection, it's a mirror, and it's beautiful. And
you are a heart chakra person.
Yeah.
And I love you guys. But here's the thing with heart. So there's a few in the coaching program right now. And I said to all of them, I said, you guys could move mountains. You get integrated, you start feeling less bad for just existing, because our society is built to shame the fuck out of you. And heart chakra people are so vulnerable to that. If you can get around that, like you guys, I always describe them as you are love. Like I live with someone like that. So I'm very I grew up where I had to earn love, so I'm always useful. I try and be useful. I try and do things. And I'll even report back to him, this is how productive I was today. He's like, yeah, I just actually love you. And it's such an alien thing to me. I'm like, we need more of you, healthy, happy, integrated in the world to infiltrate and make the world a better place.
That's my mission. My company is called Liberty Empowerment because I literally see so much liberation and empowerment, because every person has their own superhero side of them.
What you said about the women in your family, by the way, offline, I'm going to get you to share your mailing address with me, because I'm going to send you the marigold flower essence I made called Dead Grandma. It's named after my grandma. She had a great sense of humor, so she would think that that's hilarious. Marigold connects us to our ancestors, and it's great for mediumship, supporting that. Like if you want to connect with, especially matrilineal female family members, your
Yeah.
mom's side of the family, women who've passed on. But we've also found in the beta test of it, because I sent some to witches. I know witches. By the way, I'm a shaman, but I know witches. They're cool. And they
There's
tried
a
it.
difference, guys. We'll
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
that another time.
Another time. Who cares? At least, I'm not a cult leader. So they're, by degrees. But they said they felt like it was helping release epigenetic trauma. So in other words, by them healing that sort of mama trauma stuff or
Yep.
whatever came in through genetics, they felt like they were releasing their ancestors or even their mother who was alive of whatever those patterns are.
Oh, I love that. Because that's
Yeah.
what this work's about. I really feel like, every full moon that we have, there's another piece of that we get to wake up and release the bullshit.
Yeah. And the moon is never the same moon twice. And it reminds you, like, life is temporary. Everything is always in change. And this idea of, like, our society is so sick with how they view death. Death is an inevitability. And clinging to life to the point of wanting to be put into a machine and embrace the singularity as a transhumanist is really silly to me. And full moons remind us of, like, that's the fullness of the moon, and then it wanes for a while, right? And that's what the goddess Hecate is all about. The three-faced goddess is maiden, mother, crone, like, and then you restart life and you have all these phases and they all have value. Yeah, it's an interesting time. So I'll send you some of the marigold, because it will, though, fair warning, you'll see ghosts probably, because that really kicked up for me.
Yeah, my heart just fluttered and I'm like, I already see ghosts.
Yeah. I went outside thinking someone was delivering something and, like, no one was there. It's like, oh, okay. That was a lot.
So it's okay. It's
good.
Okay. Like, I get to lean into it. And on that note, we'll talk more about that. But I'm going to see you soon anyways.
You are.
Audience, yeah, I'm so excited. And audience, please just pour into Rachel. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for your sincere conversations. I was looking at your YouTube videos. I really like people that are just trying to talk, because the conversation is so crucially important for us. And everybody's really affectatious and everybody's trying to sell things, and it's good to sell things and it's good to be successful. But sometimes your brain wants a palate cleanser and it wants to learn, it wants to engage organically. So you're doing the goddess's work.
Thank you. Feels
Thank
good.
you. Have a good full moon ceremony.
Yeah, you guys too. Everybody gets to have a full moon ceremony and then report back and let us know how it went.
It's a big
Bye
one.
for now. Yeah.
Good night.
Ow.